character duel here. It looks like we have a pretty rare matchup, I think, if you're anywhere other than New York City, that is.
Yeah, sometimes,
because,
but you gotta talk about how New York likes its goofy characters. We got some circus characters.
And I mean,
in the
hey,
streets.
you know what my response is to goofy characters? Because we've got some Banjo-Kazooie on the screen. You know, one of the characters everyone was most hyped for when this game came out, when they got revealed, and then since then has become the butt of more jokes than his egg comes out of.
Yeah, no, I've never seen the monkey's paw curl harder when it comes to a character requested for Smash, and I got Sora in this game now, so I really feel it personally. But with Banjo-Kazooie, a character that has very unique zoning tools, has a very consistent but still slow controlled pace to how they play, whether it's rushdown, whether it's zoning. This character's not doing anything especially swift. That being said, on the other side, we have one of Westchester's best players, C, piloting a character that could best be described in 2 words when Banjo's on the screen: pest control. This is the premier anti-zoner character. Without even having to change a thing about her base game plan, she's able to rip and tear through characters like Banjo.
The thing, though, that to remember is Palu loves her air game. She loves to substitute falling aerials for a lot of her grounded options. And what comes up must come down. Banjo's game plan here is to use Wonder Wing, to use Grenade, use these other zoning controls to trap her landing and find a combo reversal off of it. Use Banjo's juggle game, use his space control tools to just apply pressure and keep her in the air. Not let yourself get put in situations to get juggled by the up airs like we're seeing right now. Not get put into that neutral air blender. But, you know, Skew's doing a good job finding opportunities, but just isn't able to make too much. But hey, you know, Palu's got an invulnerable back air. Banjo's got an invulnerable everything with that side special.
You know, Wonder Wing is phenomenal for being able to contest space, especially against Palutena. It is one of the best tools that you could be using because it allows you to contest those kind of moves, whether it's dash attack or back air, or even then, you get to occupy space in a way where you punish her for spot dodging or just neutral air dodge, which are both very strong tools when you consider that every button that Banjo hits is a hell of a commitment.
Yeah, but as we saw, right, you only have 5 per stock, and when you're forced to use them repeatedly just to get back the stage, it makes what could otherwise be such a good whiff punish tool just like that into something that you now only have 6 left in the game, and you have to be really very careful with that last one because one wrong choice and that resource is gone. Trying to find the single hit up air.
Oh, that was kind of yucky. I'm here for that.
Oh, baby.
No, if we're going to see silly things like that, I'm so here for it. Because that's, like I was saying, this character has fairly unorthodox tools. And you can't just play a straight zoning game. You do have to get creative with those tools. And you have to use more than just your projectiles to misposition your opponent.
And I appreciate, too, that, like, you know, a lot of players would traditionally say, hey, Banjo's up air doesn't work. Because when you fast fall the multi-hit up air, right, they fall out of it. But Skew's like, yeah, I'm just going to actually know that that's going to happen. Find the attempt to find the grab off of it. Keep the pressure going. But speaking of pressure right now, he's trying to use the Breagle Blaster ladder to find a stock into Wonder Wing, but not able to do so. Gets put in the corner for his troubles, and able to use Grenade like Snake, right, to make his way out of dodge. But C's gonna keep you on lock, and unfortunately, this goofy group of guys, well, it might be running short on game 1. The pieces of the puzzle just aren't there.
It's rough doings because you have to also consider C has just been big chilling. Like, yes, he is at 121%. And yes, one simple setup from Skew and we're at tied stocks. But at the same time, he's just been able to run the program. A very simplistic game plan for Palu when it comes to anti-airing, controlling space, not committing too hard to your approaches. But it's a nightmare for Banjo to overcome. And look at how minimal C has had to move. Like, when he's not just outright getting hit, blown up by Wonder Wing, in fact. Like, the positioning to be able to juggle or force Skew to fight from the corner has been very low compared to how much Skew is fighting tooth and nail just to stay alive.
And for Skew, too, that mix-up, right, he's not going down without a fight. I really appreciate the tooth and nail analogy because using the up air, right, that he's been looking for the whole time, I'm covering his low with Grenade and then his high swing with the forward air. He is applying pressure. He is scrapping to get back into this, but he just wasn't able to maintain stage control, right? And when you give Palu it back, it's so hard for Banjo to dislodge it. The time just ran out, and C running it back as in the foreground we see the other Banjo man in the building. That's a Achilles if I've ever seen one.
Banjo's gonna stick together, I guess.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of them, but there's enough for it to be plural when
There's
it comes to New York.
6 in the U.S. and 3 of them are in New York State. There's Skew, Achilles, and then up in the mid-Hudson Valley of all places, there's arguably the best banjo player in the world, the Hunter, who last year at SmashCon got 65th, which doesn't sound all that impressive until you remember that SmashCon has like 3,000 entrants, and that's a lot of sets won.
Man, I love New York.
New York, New York. It's a wonderful town.
Yeah, no, for some more than others.
Hey man, I'm just talking like Frank Sinatra. I don't. This is how it goes sometimes. As he tries to find the forward air grab, not managing to do so, and has to burn the Wonder Wing just to keep that advantage state going. Not able to get too much, but I like that Skew is willing to put his money where the mouth is, expend those resources, because he recognizes just how hard he has to work to set up these advantage states, and so when he gets an opportunity for one, he wants to make it count at all costs.
Yes, in the game of resource management, it comes down to the fact that you have it, use it. You could save it for the proper situation if you have a specific setup, or you could save it as a get-out-of-jail-free card, like we've seen Skew often do. Or even if it is something just as simple as a combo ender. You have 5 per stock. You'll lose it if you don't use it during that stock. You may as well. And yes, you can regret not having it at the right time, but you'll also regret not using it at all later on, so you may as well.
And seeing that singular back air from Skew makes me realize just how far that move has fallen, right? When this character came out, everyone was like, oh my god, back air is his best button, it's so good, it's so strong. And you watch Banjo's play, they never use it. It just doesn't integrate with the rest of his kit very well. And to look for it, you have to give up even more positioning than you might with a forward air, with a neutral air. And when you do that, as we just saw, C takes the stock, but hey, Wonder Wing, you phone one in, call a friend, and just like that, stock counts even.
Yeah, like for as difficult as this matchup is, as we've been inferring throughout this, like Skew is playing it very well. He's making solid decisions, and where he may not be getting complete zone control at any particular point of the stage, he is still able to get these situations where he's racking up damage, and C isn't in a proper position to give him like the full fury that Palutena can get out of a combo. Like, yeah, a nair, a back air, and of course that damage adds up, but Skew tips the scales ever more in his favor, just bit by bit.
And speaking of tipping the scales, skewing the piece of this match in his balance, C is trying to close out the stock, but I love the grenade. The Breagle ladder not going to quite find its mark. Skew once again just not able to line up what he wants into that Wonder Wing finisher, and instead having to just reset stage control, which, you know, and again, a lot of characters, right? Hey, you're okay with that. You know, you didn't lose out, but Palu just wins neutral for free with that back air in this matchup, and Skew is desperately trying to hold on.
Yeah, you know, in a lot of situations, you look at Palu back air in a vacuum, and you start to see the problems. Like, eventually she has to come down with it. It in itself is a solid commitment, and yes, it is one of those few intangible moves that she has available to her, but it's a good move, and Banjo lacks a solid option for being able to reliably punish it often. Because so far, one of the only options we've seen out of Skew has been cooking a grenade, just hoping that it works out, or Wonder Wing, which, as we've already expressed, is a limited option.
Yep.
And being on last stock is not something that he wants to throw away.
And so you either have to, as you talked about, right, not just grenade hoping it works out, it also requires setup, because since the egg lay startup is so long, plus the angle being random, you have to have it in your hand if you really want to use it as counterplay. And the miss input to end it. He's stalling. He's got the egg, the air dodge.
Yeah.
Wow. Beautiful route back to stage.
I was going to say, when I saw how many wings he had, there's a very real possibility he could have just looped all the way back around. But no, the egg bounced to get himself back and attack. I like that a lot.
I was going to say, I don't think he could have, because there is a wall right underneath the center of that PS2. So maybe not quite, but able to find the up smash just like that. Skew saying, hey, this scale still works, right? Let's tip that balance back into an even game here, trying to find his way back onto the ground, and with it, maybe a door into the set. Hangman, I mean, he is playing his heart out, but is it going to be enough?
It's a second lease on life, and the clock is ticking. Like, at a certain point, Skew's got to figure out a way to either end the stock quickly, or at least just I don't even know if you could realistically build that much percent with this type of a game plan to try to win out by time. It's an option, and given that there's 2.5 minutes left on the clock, an option that Skew may have to consider if he could even survive that long.
I was going to say, not only though do you have to live that long, but you have to do so against a character who out aerial mobilities you. When your best tool is stay in the air to contest her, it deals you damage, increasing that gap further. There's nowhere to run and nowhere to hide because that dash attack, the Goddess is going to see you. No auto reticle needed. Closing it out with a 2-0. We started with a lot of close games, ended in a couple landslides. The players at the end of the day say, hey, we got to keep this bracket moving, and we got to stay on schedule here. And if you're looking for consistency, if you are looking for timing, you know, you might want to check out some of these replays.
Yeah, C is absolutely a player who he knew what he had to do to win coming into this. He did not adjust his game plan too heavily, and even with how well Skew played it, there's just not that much that Banjo is able to do in a situation like this to really force someone like C to have to mix up too heavily.
And that's C's identity as a player. And it's something you'll actually see very strongly in the whole region of Westchester, is that all of them, their set play is insane. Like, when they just get to stick to their guns, to their game plan, some of the best players in all of Tri-State and in the entire Northeast. But when you force them to scrap, what separates the great Westchester players from the good ones is their ability, right, to improvise, to get creative in those scramble situations, which is why you see players like Quid really rise above the rest. See, they're able to execute to perfection, and, I mean, never lost the lead. But speaking of perfect execution, Hangman, I mean, I think it's time we talk about our friends over at No More Johns once again.
Going to get another opportunity to give a big shout out to one of the sponsors for this event. Again, they put big money behind this tournament, and they put big love behind the Long Island scene. They've sponsored more of those events before, and we love their product back. The No More Johns device is something that I genuinely feel every player that's looking to get better can use, regardless of your skill level, regardless of how comfortable you feel practicing in a certain way. This device is something that can help you. Guarantee it.
And speaking of things that can help you, if you're over on the event running side of things, if you want a fantastic crew for production, for media, to help you run your events, there are very, very few, if any, better out there than Gen Game Media. Located in Long Island, but broadcasting today from lovely Brooklyn.
You see it in purple, you know it's top shelf. That's just how it is and how it'll always be.
You want people like Hangman, who's involved too? I mean, hey, hit up Gen Game Media. You see their Twitter, their Twitch. They're down in the bottom right. Give them a follow, give them a watch. Check them out because they put in an incredible amount of work to make everything you see in front of you today, and so many things, other events that you might be familiar with where you don't see them happen.
And of course, you're watching us live from VG Boot Camp. And if you're new to it, feel free to like, follow, subscribe. This is where you will find all of the Smash, all kinds of Smash, all talents of Smash. Whether it's local or afar, VGBC is